Hey all, today is going to be a slightly funny day in coding class because we're not going to write any code. So today we're just going to talk about UML, which is Unified Modeling Language, which is a way to kind of make a diagram for the code you're about to write. Um, I really encourage you to do this before you wade into writing any code. This is a good way to get your thoughts clear, to think about what it is that you're writing and how you're going to have to write it. It's also a good way to divide up tasks if you happen to be coding in a group, or gives you a good way to divide up tasks if you like when you know a project's going to take a while, you can tackle one piece at a time. So what I have here is I went to apps.diagrams.net because this is free and interfaces pretty easily. So this is the one that I like to use. Other people use like Lucid Charts, or you can draw in MS Paint for all I care. I will say that I like this thing because I can change stuff around, and you won't be able to do that with an image. So I have open here the UML area at the bottom, and I'm just going to drag out a few things that I intend to use. Um, I find that UML is pretty darn complicated generally, so I'm only going to show you the very basics here. So I have this class. I'm going to use those, so I'm just going to set one up here. There's a couple different, there's honestly, UML has so many different kinds of arrows. They're all meaningful. For our kind of introduction into writing computer code and using UML for the first time, I'm gonna I'm gonna maybe say there are like three or four arrows that you really ought to know, and I'm gonna drag those out. So I've got this aggregation arrow here. I've got a composition arrow here. I'm gonna want a line arrow there and a directional connector here, and my directional connector has the wrong arrowhead on it, so I'm going to go ahead and swap that to this hollow arrowhead. You could also use, in place of that, where is it? This guy. Maybe, what the heck, let's go and do that. If you need a different arrow, you can use that general arrow tool. So these are essentially my kind of basic tools. So let's go ahead and make a little UML for something that I'm going to write later. So I'm going to take my class. I'm just going to copy that and make another one here. So my class that I'm going to be dealing with primarily here is I'm trying to model like the idea of a bank account, right? So I'm going to have a class here that's going to consist of an account. And this account is going to have a field. So my account is going to have a pin, which is going to be an integer. And we're also going to have an owner, and that's going to be a string. And we're also going to have a balance, which is going to be a double. Okay, and then we're going to have some methods. So let's see. For my example, I think my first method is going to be toString, which is going to return a string. Let's see, what else might we have? Should be noted, right, that I'm writing this with kind of Java in mind. You don't need to write UML with a language in mind. But it is going to inform some of your choices here. Like, I have been uncapitalizing string throughout this. String should be capitalized because I'm thinking Java. But, you know, you do you. Let's see, what else might an account have? An account might have a setPin method. And that's not going to return anything, so I'm going to say that's void. Okay, so that's kind of the basics here. As you realize what's going on with your code, you may need more methods or less, but I'm not going to spend a ton of time like fleshing out all the methods here because, frankly, I want to show how this works, not spend a lot of time like doing it. Okay, so let's see what else. I'm gonna say that there are actually two kinds of accounts. So I'm just going to kind of stick those down here. You don't really have to line things up, but I find it aesthetically pleasing to line things up. So I'm going to make a savings account, which is going to be a special kind of account. And the way I'm going to denote that here is I'm going to take this extends arrow and I'm going to connect that. So I'm going to connect to here and here. So what this is saying is a savings account is a account. This arrow with the little hollow triangle is, I refer to that personally as a is a arrow. So a savings account is a account, right? Okay, so then we've got classes. Let's see, our other class here is going to be a checking account. And a checking account is also going to be an account. Oops, I didn't really want to pull on that. So you can tell I got my little middle mark here kind of dorked. All right, so I've got my savings account, which is an account, and my checking account, which is an account. Then I might have yet another kind of account, right? So I'm just going to copy this guy and paste him. And like I might have another thing that's like a high yield savings account. And my high yield savings account, that is a savings account, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect these guys, and that's going to show us that the high yield savings account is a savings account, which itself is an account. And then we can go ahead and adjust our fields and types and stuff here. So like a savings account is going to have an additional field beyond what a regular account has. It's going to have an interest rate. Which is going to be some kind of a double. And then here we're going to have some method about our interest rate, which is going to be like apply interest. Right, which is going to, let's see, that's probably going to take nothing and return nothing. It's just going to change the balance in the account. And then here, my high yield savings account may have some more functionality beyond my savings account. I'm a bit at a loss as to what that would be right now. So like, let's maybe say that has a different method associated to it, which is like, well, apply interest. The savings account already knows how to apply interest. The high yield savings account probably doesn't need to also know how to apply interest. Let's see, what might a high yield savings account have that a regular account doesn't? This might have another method that's applied daily interest or something. This is not necessarily true to case, but let's say that's an option. Right, so our high yield savings account has just a little bit more functionality. And it maybe doesn't have any extra fields, right? It may have essentially the same fields. We may have checking accounts with different properties. Let's see, our checking account probably has, certainly has a method called order checks. That probably also doesn't really do anything in our system, right? It probably doesn't return anything in our system. It just generates an order that goes to like the mailing service. And then this probably doesn't have an interest rate, so I'm going to kind of leave the, let's put in one thing. Let's say we've got a last check number, which is an integer. So that would be like, which check number are we on now? You can order checks. Those checks are numbered. Once you get a checkbook, we shouldn't issue you later a checkbook with the same numbers. So that's why we'll keep track of the last check number. Okay, so hoping this makes some sense. So let's add one more complication to this. So here's my complication. I'm going to make another class here. And let me make this a user class. I think that'll make more sense. So I've got a user class. Users might have some fields, right? They might have a field called name. That's a string. Let's see, we might have some methods. I'm going to leave methods blank for the moment, but there probably are some methods that we could think of for that. And then what I want to think is that there's an association between users and accounts, right? So every account might have several users that are associated to it. That would be something like this owner, right? I said the owner should be a string. Let me add here a authorized users, which is going to be a user array or a user list or something, right? Since we're doing Java, let's just go all in on Java and say we're making an array list of users for that. Okay, so I've got my array list of users that are associated to this account. And this is where I've got a class user that really is part of the account class. So this is where these two arrows come in. So the aggregation arrow with the hollow diamond on it says the stuff on this end makes up part of the stuff on this end and can exist on its own otherwise. So if I allow a user to exist in my system without having an account, which I probably do, honestly, because the user is created and then the account is created and then the two are associated together. So I probably have to allow the users to exist without an account, at least briefly. In the case that a user can exist outside of an account, I use this hollow arrow. In the case that a user must be in one of the accounts, I use the filled in arrow. So the black arrow is called a composition arrow. The hollow one is called an aggregation arrow. You can think of this thing as a has some arrow, right? So I'm going to drop that on here. I'm going to take the arrow and we're going to put that on our account. And then we're going to grab this end and we're going to attach that to our user. And so this is, the user is associated to an account. The user may exist on its own because I have the hollow arrow. Or there might be many users associated to an account. That's also allowed. There's some numbering conventions here for like one to many. I'm not going to ask that you guys in the first Java class use those. I'm just going to ask that you know these three arrows and the one extra one, which is the line, which is what I use to associate things that aren't necessarily made together but somehow interact, right? So like I may have another class here. I'm just going to take this guy because I was going to delete it in a second anyway. So I may have a customer service rep class, right? I'm just going to grab all these guys and scoot this whole thing down a little bit and take my customer service rep class here. And then I'm going to say my customer service rep class, that's actually going to be associated or interact with both the account class and with the user class. Because my customer service reps are going to be able to interact with both of those things. The customer service rep isn't a component of a user. They're not making up accounts, but they can interact with those things. So they have some methods that allow them to interact. So like one of our methods might be reset pin. The user may have this, let's see, so we've got set pin in our account. Reset pin may be a customer service rep method that takes an account and a user, right? And then returns nothing. So what I'm envisioning for that is the customer calls and says, hey, I'm this user. This is my, I have access to this account. I need to reset my PIN for this account. And the customer service representative needs to be able to do that. That seems like a viable use case. That seems like something we might run into in the wild, right? I'm going to leave the fields kind of blank in here for now but we might fill those in later. If we were writing a bigger, like if we were actually going to write this backend piece of code, we'd spend a lot of time talking about these fields. We'd spend a lot of time talking about these methods, right? This would not be a one-person job, probably, to imagine this. This would be a like a much this would be a thing that we would have some meetings about amongst a whole team of people, probably including some customer service reps, probably including like a focus group of users. This would be a big project to design this kind of thing. But I hope you get the basic idea. So I want you to have these kind of arrows in your head. So the one with the hollow arrow is a arrow. I like to say that this one is a is made of arrows, right? So an account is made of users, or users make up an account. Maybe makeup is a better name for this arrow, because this end goes on the end where we're putting those things. And then I've got these associated arrows, which are just these dashy ones, or these lines. There are a whole bunch more arrows in UML. Don't feel like I've given you a full tutorial here. I definitely haven't. There's more to learn in this area, but this should be enough to get us started in the class. Thanks, guys. Catch you on the next one.